Welcome to Movie Scale. This is D, Leo, and I'm new guy, Harrison.
New guy is getting his britches up, so...
Yeah, he's a little nervous. Well, you guys have been telling us we need to get more diverse because I'm white and he's Asian, so we got a black guy.
Really?
2017.
Dude, the last comment we had was just, are you guys a couple? No, we're a threesome, okay? Occasionally we invite people out. Alright, so this week, the three of us are reviewing Spider-Man Homecoming, the latest in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and a complete surprise for the three of us. How good was it? Damn good.
Spider-Man Homecoming picks up right after Civil War, and we are following the adventures of Peter Parker being the neighborhood-friendly Spider-Man.
Or at least...
Friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Whatever he said.
Or at least Robert Downey Jr. wants him to be the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. He wants to be more. He wants to be a part of the Avengers still. And this is basically him trying to prove himself.
And so Spider-Man goes through a lot of trials and tribulations, but the main conflict is that he's ready to be an Avenger, he's ready to go at it, but Iron Man is just not letting him do it because he still needs to learn. So Spider-Man decides to go into this big conflict where he learns that Vulture is smuggling old weapons and materials from previous Avengers fights and uses them to build his own black market of illegal super cool guns. It's up to Spider-Man to solve the crime before Tony Stark finds out that Spider-Man has not been listening to his orders.
So what I love about this movie is how it tonally feels completely different from the other Marvel movies. You know, you can still tell it's in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, you have cameos by Captain America, you have a small role of Iron Man, but it's got this sort of 80s flavor going on, like it's an 80s coming-of-age story, except it's not, you know, an 80s coming-of-age story. It's a Spider-Man superhero movie, and I just dig it, just the way they did. All the little 80s homages they sprinkled in there.
Yeah, like the 80s themed Homecoming theme. Why?
The Ferris Bueller homage where he's running through the backyards.
Yes.
Absolutely dynamite.
Well, I think it's like, you have to even realize too, it's not like prom or anything. They're making it like prom, like you said. It's like an 80s homage. It's really big, but it's Homecoming.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my gosh. And I think it's also appropriate too because this is Spider-Man Homecoming to the Marvel Cinematic Universe too.
Ooh.
So...
You just connected those threads there, my boy. So one of the greatest things that I love about this movie is the villain. Now, y'all know that Marvel does not know how to make a good villain. At least not since Loki. They made Loki, and then they just forgot how to make people that are better than Loki.
Well, I would say even like Guardians 2 had a decent attempt at it.
Even Guardians 2 is a little better.
I'd say it's decent, yeah.
But this is the first villain that we have that we can actually kind of understand who he is. He's not this big floating guy that's just trying to destroy the universe and do things we don't really understand or care about. It's just this dude. Just this dude that's been down on his luck and the corporations have been taking advantage of him and he's fighting back in his own way. So he's super relatable. I don't know how much I want to say.
Michael Keaton really has a presence on screen.
Yeah.
Like, you can feel his presence. Like, there's a moment of confrontation between Peter Parker and Michael Keaton, and they're not dressed up. They're humans, and you can feel that he is scared of him.
And rightfully so. Michael Keaton never yells in the film either. I don't think he does once, but he still is a very commanding and intense person.
He's very intimidating. And the way he speaks too, he's got a little bit of a northeastern.
He's got that working class drawl.
He's definitely blue collar.
That blue-collar New Yorkin going on, so...
Yeah. So he's a very impressive villain. A+. Good job, Marvel.
Definitely.
Keep making villains like this.
What did you guys think of Zendaya?
I don't know.
So I thought she was... Okay, so I know a lot of people before it came out were kind of worried about how she would be Mary Jane without her being, not redheaded or anything, kind of fitting the cliche of being Mary Jane. She was very much so in the background, and I think they used her the right amount.
Yeah, for me, I was a little disappointed because she felt more like comic relief more than anything.
Yeah.
And whenever I saw her, I was like, oh, that's just Zendaya doing her Disney Channel comic relief rather than a full fleshed out character. And going in, I thought she was Mary Jane. Like, I was convinced of it, so I was like, what are you doing? She doesn't feel like Mary Jane, and she still doesn't feel like a character.
No.
She feels like a comic relief.
She's almost, she kind of falls into the category of Aunt May, almost. Mm-hmm. She's a one-note kind of, lol, she's hot kind of thing.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, she's edgy, she flips you off.
Yeah.
Doesn't really care. She's the edgy teenager that doesn't care,
Yeah.
And so until she gets more of a role, probably in the next film, she's gonna kind of be a little bit forgettable almost.
Yeah. Speaking of Aunt May, do you feel like she's as one note as Zendaya?
I do.
Yeah.
I wish they did more with her than just, oh, I'm super hot. Because in the previous Spider-Man movies, that character, or just whoever fills that role, is usually the one that gives Spider-Man support.
Yeah, and it was kind of weird because I was thinking about this too. Normally, Aunt May would be the one to ground Peter Parker, whereas this time it was Robert Downey Jr.
The one thing, though, with Aunt May that I love that they did, they acknowledged that she was hot.
Yes.
Which she gets flirted with, and I'm so glad that everyone was making fun of them, like, oh my god, you got this young hot Aunt May.
Yeah.
Like, we're gonna be like, okay, we're gonna make a joke with it.
Yeah, So if she is a one note, they did use it to its potential. She's getting free food from a Chinese restaurant just because of her looks. The sandwich guy's hitting on her in Italian.
Oh yeah, he's like, oh, this is the guy with the really cute aunt.
Yeah, exactly. How's your aunt? And because Robert Downey Jr. obviously being a playboy that he is, acknowledged that. But now that everyone kind of just sees it too, I think at least even if she's one note, they went with it to its full potential.
Now, how can we not talk about Spider-Man without talking about actual Spider-Man? Tom Holland continues his excellent performance from Civil War. He captures the adorableness of Spider-Man. We have shoved Andrew Garfield out of the playing field and introduced a better Spider-Man. I'm sorry, my man, but Tom Holland is great. He's got that lovable awkwardness to him. He really feels like a teenager that just got superpowers, still struggling with who he is, determined that he's like the best kind of guy, and he's all fighty and gung-ho about it, but still too immature to understand his role in the world.
Yeah, this is a true comic book version of Peter Parker.
Yes.
So when we got the original trilogy with Sam Raimi, we got sort of a live-action adaptation of the Spider-Man from the 1990s cartoon, where he's an adult, he's very cerebral, he's very intelligent, he's got the weight of the world on his shoulders, and how the world is tearing him apart because he wants to do this and this and this, like this heavy, emotional Spider-Man.
Yeah.
In Amazing Spider-Man, we got this really cool, awesome Spider-Man. I don't even know what that was. But here we have comic book Peter Parker, the way he was originally meant to be. Like, hey, I'm 15, this is so cool that I'm a superhero. Like, he just captured that essence of I'm a teenager just so brilliantly.
Yes, I think it was really cool how they did this without it being an origin story. We don't go through the cliche spider bite, we don't go through Harry Osborn, we don't go through the Green Goblin, we don't go through any of the tropes that we've known from the past two, attempts at making these films. And they've done it so well. They acknowledge that we know this. As the audience, we've seen this, gosh, how many times now?
6.
Yeah,
I don't know.
We've seen the story 6 times, and they're able to basically acknowledge that we as the viewers know what's going on, and they kind of personify the excitement even more through his best bud, Ned.
Yes, Ned, the hype guy that we all wish we had in our life. Ned is excited for everything.
He's the man in the chair.
He's the man in the chair. He's a great character too, and a lot of the acting and the interactions between these characters are great. It does feel like they're all in high school.
It's genuine. It's like a genuine, and you can't have high school without bullies, though. How do you guys feel about Flash?
Flash is so one note.
Yeah, he's like terrorizing Peter, but he doesn't bring the intimidation of the previous Flash, where the previous Flash was like this big football player.
Yeah,
He's like, yeah, I can legit beat you up. This guy's like on the academic decathlon,
he's just a dorky DJ that just makes fun of people.
Like, he's making fun of Peter, but I don't feel intimidated by him at all. I don't think Peter's intimidated.
It's more of a rivalry than anything, because you can tell Flash is jealous of Peter just because he's naturally gifted at a lot of things, so he just bags on him for that instead of trying to beat Peter up, And that was probably one of the fresher takes that I enjoyed as well, was the fact that it wasn't a cliche bully just slamming Peter into a locker all the time.
I feel like his character is good as a way of creating that atmosphere of the high school environment, where you do have that guy who's kind of a jerk, and you have that girl that you have a crush on, but all of this stuff together makes that believable environment. And it's actually quite important for this movie because it is a big juggle between Spider-Man life versus school life, and they often come head to head.
So one thing that you brought up earlier but we didn't really get into, is how funny this movie is and all the self-referential Easter eggs that they bring up that really bring out that rich history. You know the moment where he's like hanging upside down and his AI is saying, "Hey, kiss her."
Yeah.
Like we know what that's referencing.
We all know the famous Rain kissing scene. I guess we can also talk as far as comedy goes. You know, Karen does. You know, the AI. I think she's probably one of the best introductions to the film as well, along with Ned. You know, as far as that, her
Who
just
voices her?
Who voices Karen in Spider-Man: Homecoming? Jennifer Connelly.
Oh! Yeah, no, Jennifer Connelly did a really good job. I think that definitely her earnesty, I guess, being an AI that's not fully used to Peter and Peter's not fully used to it, kind of clashes really well.
Yeah, it's super funny, like the way they talk to each other, like, "Oh, it seems that you've forgotten some of your training modules. Would you like a refresher?" And Peter Parker's like, "No, I got this. Just pick whatever."
Okay, insta-kill.
Instant kill. No, not instant kill. Instant kill off. Like, there's a lot of fun chemistry between Spider-Man and all the characters he interacts with, Karen included. And it's just, it feels really authentic.
Yeah, one of my favorite scenes is when he's trying to shoot to swing and there's nothing to grab onto.
Yes.
So he
And it just like squirts out into like
just
the
into
heart.
the openness. And it's like something that we all kind of think about occasionally late at night. Like, what happens when there's nothing for him to swing on?
Yeah.
There you go.
This is quite a smart Spider-Man movie in terms of it knows where it's coming from, it knows all those references, and then it just decides to just mess around. So the visuals, what do you guys think of this? Do you think this is better than the old Spider-Man visuals? Do you think it's the same?
I feel that's a little unfair just because we kind of come further within the respect to superhero films. The budget's kind of gotten bigger too.
Yeah.
But I do think that because we had like a limited, budget back in the day, there were better cinematography angles sometimes. Better cinematography within like Spider-Man 2, we were talking about a little bit earlier, kind of shows through. This one's definitely more of an action-based film. So there's a little bit more jump cuts, a little bit more of the intensity, I guess you would say, versus just an truer kind of naturalistic, oh, this is Spider-Man in his normal day life kind of thing. It's more stylized.
And I love how much they had scenes that were ground level.
Yes.
In the middle of New York, like, that defined the movie to me more than anything else they did, because like with the other two Spider-Man franchises, you didn't really have him like moving through the bustling streets of Queens.
He was always free from it. He was always swinging above.
Yep.
Never had an issue with any of that. It definitely cemented Peter in the world. And I think that's what Tom Holland really captures on both fronts, being Spider-Man and Peter Parker. He's cemented in his world on both fronts, trying to juggle both lives.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting, because whenever Spider-Man's in the air, there's trouble.
Yeah.
Like, when he's in the air, he's like being captured by Vulture,
Yeah.
or he's on a plane that's about to crash, or he's like falling.
or he's on the Washington Monument, the Washington Monument's about to like blow up.
Yeah, so whenever he's above ground level, it seems that there's always something going on.
One of the mistakes the other Spider-Man movies have always done is they've been overstuffed with too many villains.
Yes.
This did not have that problem.
Spider-Man 3? Spider-Man 3? Did someone say Spider-Man 3?
Spider-Man 3 and Spider-Man 2.
Amazing Spider-Man
2.
Amazing Spider-Man
Yes,
2.
to clarify that, yeah.
Yeah, this is
Both.
basically just Vulture.
Yeah, it's Vulture, maybe like his minions, but
Well, Shocker's like a minion, and he's not like comic book Shocker.
he's not, no, definitely not. And like, even when he's there, he's more of a nuisance than he ever is like a main plot point.
Mm-hmm.
It's still Michael Keaton as the Vulture versus Spider-Man. And then one thing we probably want to talk about too real quick is the fact that this isn't Iron Man 4.
The trailer made it feel like this was going to be Iron Man 4, and that the Vulture, he didn't want anything with Spider-Man. His grudge was against Tony Stark. Like, that's what it felt
That's
like.
definitely what the trailers first felt like too, and it definitely felt more like this would be Iron Man helping Peter Parker along the entire way, and really wasn't. Really was far from that. He probably had, 3 or 4 scenes in the entire movie?
Yeah, not a whole lot of scenes, just enough to sort of steer Spider-Man on track or introduce conflict, or he sort of saves the day but then slaps Peter.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, not used too much, just the right amount.
He's just in there to be like, I'm the arrogant ego comedy relief.
He still plays up to his role as Tony Stark is still Tony Stark. Iron Man is still Iron Man.
I am convinced that Tony Stark and Robert Downey Jr. are now the same person.
Just like Ryan Reynolds and Deadpool, they're just two in the same.
Alright, so let's wrap this up. Final statements from everyone. You can start us off, Leo.
So, to me, I felt that this is the truest version of comic book Spider-Man that I've seen. This movie just works perfectly in the MCU while also being very much its own thing. You're not going to confuse it as just a generic comic book movie. And this just nails it on the head. Like, not only is this a 10 out of 10 for me, I would see this multiple times in theaters. Like, that's how much I enjoyed this movie. And I don't know if it's just because I'm a nerd, but like my top movies this year are mostly comic book movies. They've been nailing it. Like, I have not seen a bad comic book movie this year.
That's true.
All right, Harrison.
I'd have to kind of agree, you know, I can kind of fully agree in a sense. It's probably the best cinematic representation we've had of Spider-Man to date, or at least in a while, you know, ever since the first Sam Raimi attempt. And I think it's refreshing. It stands on its own without it having to really carry the weight of the previous ones. Even though it's a nod to it, you know, it's like, yeah, I remember Civil War, yeah, I remember this, I remember that. But it's still, like, if you took all of that out, it would still stand on its own. It would still be a true Spider-Man film. And all of the things that they switched up and brought in and changed up to help us not have an origin story, but an introduction story, really made it fresh, too, at the same time. So, I give it a 10 out of 10.
Sounds good. I would agree with that, especially for people who have been burned by the previous Spider-Man movies, expecting something kind of good, but end up getting disappointment. This is a return to the roots for Spider-Man in a way that it not only builds on itself, but also homages to the old material. Spider-Man has a great villain, Spider-Man has a great plot, it's done very well, and it is definitely worth watching. We give it a 10 out of 10. There you go, that is our talk and take on Spider-Man Homecoming. Let us know if you have any comments in the comments below. Like our video if you like us, subscribe if you want to see more. That's it, everybody. Thanks, Harrison, for being on board, and we are gonna slam.
And if you want to see more of Harrison, let us know below as well.
Yeah, we really need to know. We need a poll. We need a poll.